Hello, students, and welcome to the History of Medicine. My name is Dr. Elliot Bowen, and I'm going to be your instructor for this semester. In this lecture, I just wanted to walk you through the syllabus, spending some time talking about the various assignments you're going to complete over the course of the next 15 weeks, and also giving you a feel for what this course is really about. For this class, there are three major areas of assessment which combined will be used to calculate your overall grade in the course. You can see them here on the screen. They are participation, which is worth 30% of your grade, quizzes, which are also worth 30%, and then a research project, which is 40% of your grade. In the slides that follow, I'll explain each of these different components of the course in a bit more detail. In order to earn full marks for participation, you need to make 2 substantive posts per week. I'll explain what I mean by substantive in the next slide, but first let me specify what exactly you have to respond to with your posts, because actually these can be responses to a number of different things, including 1, questions from the lecture video. Answering these is probably the easiest way to earn your participation points. When you do this, please know that you don't need to respond to every single question in the lectures. Just pick one question per post, and respond to it in a detailed, evidence-filled fashion. Another thing you can do for participation credit is respond to a classmate's post. If you agree with them, if you disagree with them, as long as you're providing additional information beyond what the person you're responding to wrote, that's perfectly valid. A third option for you would be to respond to one of my follow-up questions, because throughout the week, I'll be reading through your responses, and from time to time, I'll interact with you, and I'll make my own posts. Sometimes I'll provide new additional information. Often when I do that, I'll include new material, like an image or an excerpt from a primary source or a link. And also when I do that, I'll typically give you an additional question, something that drives us further into the thing that we're already considering. And you can respond to that follow-up question too. If you do, you'll get full credit for it. So you have these 3 options in terms of getting your participation points: answering a question from a lecture video, responding to another student's post, or replying to a follow-up question from me. And you can mix and match, right? For example, if your first post is a response to a lecture video and your second post is a response to what someone else said, great. All of that works. In order to earn full marks for the participation part of your grade, I'm looking for you to make 2 substantive posts per week. And by substantive, I mean a number of things. 1, be direct. Instead of sharing everything you know about this topic that we're talking about in a given week, please compose posts that are targeted, that focus specifically on the question that I'm asking you to consider. Secondly, be specific. To the extent that you can, develop your main point by way of reference to particular bits of evidence from lectures or from readings. You can include quotes from PowerPoints or other bits of course content. You can make use of images or insert links or use attachments to underscore the claim you're trying to advance. But try not to generalize. I don't want your overall impression. I want you to delve into the details of the sources we're examining. Third, be brief. Please try to keep your posts relatively short. We don't need mini essays. Remember, there's 29 other people in the class, and the goal is to collectively come to a complete understanding of things. You don't have to cover every single little thing. The average text should be somewhere between 5 and 7 sentences. And fourth, be unique. As best you can, try to move the discussion along. Look for ways to make new contributions, talking about sources that no one's addressed yet, looking at things from a different angle, or maybe even by getting into a debate with someone. It's entirely okay to disagree with some of your classmates. As long as we keep things civil and respectful, we can have intellectual debates in this discussion board forum. So also, if there are things that you don't think were clear, you want me to expand on, that can be part of your participation as well. I want us all to be in dialogue with each other. And to do that, we need to respond to each other's statements. Okay, now that you've learned a little bit about participation, you might be wondering about these lectures. What are they? Where can I find them? And what should I be doing when I'm watching them? Every week of the class, on average, there will be 2 short 15-minute video lectures that I will post to Instagram, Moodle, and YouTube. And your job, basically, is to watch those lectures and take notes on them, and to consider the questions contained within them as you prepare your discussion board posts for that week. Typically, the first lecture of the week will be methodological, in which I'll introduce a theory or an analytical tool that we can use to understand medical history, and the second lecture of the week typically will provide some historical information about the topic that we're examining that particular week. Okay, so now to be more specific about it and give you a sense of how the lectures and the discussions are related to each other and how one thing flows to the next. So here, if you look at the course schedule, this is just the first week of our class together, and it lists the topic, the lectures, the readings, and assignments. And this is basically what a typical week in history of medicine looks like in the course schedule. It will begin with a lecture, in this case, lecture 1A, what is the history of medicine. The first thing that you'll do in the week, hopefully on Monday or so, is listen through that 15-minute lecture, take some notes on it, and then once you've had some time to think about it for a while, you head over to our discussion board and you post your first response of the week. After you've done that, you head over and listen to the second of the week's 15-minute lectures. And again, this is one that usually will give you more specific historical content on whatever it is we're studying that week. You do the same thing with this one, though. You listen to it, you watch it, you take some notes. After 15 minutes, you think about it, and then sometimes there might be an additional article that this second lecture is designed to set up. You might have to go then read that article, as is the case in week 1. And once you've put all of these things together, finally then you're ready to return to the discussion board for our second and final discussion of the week. So if you make one post for each of these 2 discussions, and they are good, following the guidelines that I just laid out, you'll do really well with everything. That's what a typical week in history of medicine looks like, if I were to put together a flow chart. I hope that helps. When it comes to making your discussion board posts, you have a number of different options. As the videos are posted to Instagram and YouTube, you can use those forums if you want to make your comments in response to the lecture material. But probably the easiest way for us to do it, which has worked pretty well in the past, is on Telegram. I've actually created a Telegram group chat just for this class, and I would suggest that at your earliest convenience, you click on the link in the slide here, join that group, and then make all of your discussion posts through Telegram. It's a really nice design. It's got a good feed. You'll be able to interact with me and your classmates in a really easy way. So let's go for Telegram this semester. Okay, another big component of your grade, 30%, is going to be quizzes. Over the course of the semester, we're going to have 4 of these. There will be 1 for every unit in the schedule. That is 1 on medical historiography, 1 on medicine in the ancient world, 1 on medicine in the early modern world, and 1 on medicine in the modern world. Each of these quizzes will consist of 2 questions. They'll be short answer questions that address lectures and readings from that particular unit, right? So all of the readings, all of the lectures that pertain to the unit on medicine in the early modern world, for example, there'll be 1 quiz that covers all of that. It'll be 2 questions. For each of these, you'll have to call on information derived from the lectures and the readings associated with that unit. You'll be asked to develop an argumentative response to a specific question, and your goal will be to develop a thesis that responds to that question and that makes use of some of our course content to make your argument. Each question for these quizzes should get about a 2-paragraph long response, and you'll be taking them online. I'll administer the quizzes through Moodle. Typically, you'll have a few days to complete this with a 6-hour window once you begin the quiz. Okay, another big part of your grade for this class is going to be your research project, and we're going to complete this in 2 stages over the course of the semester. The first part is going to be a literature review, and the second part is a primary source analysis. And the way that it's going to work, basically, you're going to choose elements from our course content and then use them to produce an original piece of writing on a primary source text of your choosing. If you look through the syllabus and the course schedule, you'll see that basically every week we're going to deal with a different kind of primary source. We're going to read it and we're going to discuss it. For the research project, I'd like you to go beyond the discussion that we have in class and conduct a more detailed, in-depth analysis of one of the primary sources that we're going to read over the course of the next 15 weeks. Before you get into that primary source, what I'd like you to do is learn a little bit more about one of the theories or the methodological perspectives that we're talking about in this class and figure out how you might apply it to an analysis of your chosen primary source. So over the course of the semester, we're going to learn a lot about a lot of different concepts and tools that historians use to analyze medicine. For example, social constructionism, or the idea of the medical marketplace, or medicalization as a sociological theory. These are examples of analytical tools that you can learn more about and then use the insights from them to produce an independent assessment of one of our primary sources. So for the first part of this project, which is worth 20% of your grade, you will first pick one of these theories or methodologies and do a little bit of outside extra reading on them. What I'm requiring you to do here is read 4 secondary sources that you have to find on your own on your chosen theory or methodological perspective, and then write up a short essay that describes and critiques these sources. That's the first part. And then after that, you'll proceed to your primary source analysis, which is where you go to that source that you've chosen from our course content and apply some of the things that you learned from your literature review to it in a way that gives you deeper insights into that source and its relevance for the history of medicine. And then once you do that, you'll write up your second essay and your research project will be done. In an ideal world, all of the assignments you submit would be due by the deadlines listed in the syllabus, but of course, we are not living in an ideal world. We are in fact living at a time of a major public health emergency, the likes of which we have not seen in our lifetimes. I myself have got COVID. Hopefully I'm recovered for it. I know what it's like to experience this disease. So if you or someone in your family comes down with this illness or has any other medical emergency, please just do let me know and I will try to accommodate you with some alternative deadlines. All right, the last thing I want to say before I go is office hours. I'll be having these this semester on Monday and Wednesday from 12 to 2 p.m. You can get in touch with me during those hours in a variety of different ways. If you want, you can send me an email. You can use Google Chat, Or you can just send me a private message through Telegram. I'll be monitoring all of those things between 12 and 2, Monday and Wednesday. And of course, if that doesn't work for your schedule, you can schedule an appointment outside those hours.